Hi there. My name is Ray, and I just wanted to introduce you to my son, who was a former NICU grad as well too. This is Luke. He was born with mosaic trisomy 22, which is a very rare chromosome disorder. He spent about 3 weeks in the NICU, and that start was something that was quite significant for me because it brought me down a path towards better understanding rare disease and how to support him over the years. If there's anything that I grew to understand over time, it was the necessity of me being able to find as many ways as I could to learn more about his condition and to, no matter how long or short his life is, ensure that he has an opportunity to have a full life. And my time in the NICU offered me an opportunity to really think about what it means to prep myself for difficult and challenging conversations, for learning new language and new thought patterns that I was not used to previously, and to really learn about what it means to prep myself for big experiences along that way too. And for us as well too, I can say that I did really stick to that experience in my life. In the other photo here as well too, you can see he was about 12 years old there, and he stuck around with us till just before his 14th birthday, before he passed away. And I can definitely say, even at that moment, that I knew I did right by him. And for me, along the way, in terms of the things that I learned about how to be his mom, I learned about the notion of partnering in research and all that it can encompass when it comes to helping further the work of scientific research. I have been working actually in the field of child health related research and patient oriented research for almost 10 years now. And I just wanted to take an opportunity to share a few lessons as to what helps a person feel like they belong in that space, because I know for many of you this is going to be a very new concept. And so let's walk through a few bits of advice that I can hopefully provide for you today. Now, what brings us to the space of partnering in research? Well, one thing I can definitely say is that that answer is going to be as unique as the amazing kids that we raise. For what I can say within the research actually is that this sort of work is directly tied to a parent's personal identity, and that this often drives people to different directions, to consider new avenues, to see a new vision in terms of how they find meaning in being parents to our awesome kids. For me, it was an opportunity to think a little deeper about all I wanted for my family's life. I got to think a little bit more about things that if I saw someone else in my space or in my position, I didn't want to see other people repeat some of the experiences that I had. I wanted to make sure that there were lessons learned and that a legacy was left. And that was truly what I felt that I had done when it came to the life and memory of my son. And so when it comes to answering for yourself why you are in this space, that may take some time. It's a new direction. It's a new experience for many. And in many cases, it's just it feels like a new opportunity to be heard, and in some ways that can be a very cathartic experience. I have seen and worked with a lot of families who have suddenly taken a moment and realized that in a world that sometimes feels like they can be anonymized, where they're only heard of in hospital spaces as like mom or dad, that understanding that their story has relevance to create change is a very big thing to process. And I just want to encourage you to take an opportunity to think a little bit deeper as to some of the feelings that you're having along the way, and acknowledge that they are valid feelings. And I want you to feel supported as you go through processing some of those experiences as well too. And if there's anything that really truly does unify us in terms of the reasons why we partner in research, it is the fact that passion leads us to this space. And according to the Canadian Institutes for Health Research, patient-oriented research, you can see here this is the description according to their website. And this is why passion and why your partnership really matters in this space. It's because it's about engaging people with lived experience and understanding that there is power in those experiences and detail and nuance and relevance in ways that create science that has real life application. Because it's not about somebody else trying to figure out and telling other people that this is how things should go about as you live your life. It's taking the experiences that you've had and shaping that into a story that helps people better understand the experiences that you went through or are currently going through. All of these things matter in this space. So sometimes it can be a little bit difficult for people to kind of figure out how to process even just the idea of occupying the same room as a bunch of scientists. And I still get those feelings as well, too. And number one, I will say that imposter syndrome is a very real concept and something that a lot of us parents experience in these research spaces. And I just want to take a moment to say, first and foremost, that's okay. It's okay to have those feelings. It's okay to feel a little bit uncomfortable, and that will get easier over time. Sometimes it can just be a little bit of a moment to have a little bit of a sense of humor along the way as well. I remember the first time I went to a research conference, I found myself feeling very uncomfortable, and I got a hug from somebody who is a scientist and has been in the field for years. And this person I ended up actually working for several years. And I remember thinking to myself, is this even sanctioned? Is this okay? Can I get a hug? This is allowed? And it took me a while to kind of figure out what that was. And I realized that sometimes the notion of power differentials, we see that in healthcare all the time. And we sometimes hold on to those experiences, and we suddenly realize that when we're introduced to the idea of equity, it feels strange and foreign. But that will come with comfort and confidence over time, I can definitely guarantee you. And, honestly, at that same conference, I was asked a question just at this roundtable discussion with a bunch of researchers, and it was a perfectly valid question that was asked of me. And I remember having a bit of a panic attack at the moment. And honestly, if I was wearing a hooded sweatshirt, I would have put the hood over my face and pulled the toggles and went, I don't know, I'm just a mom. But that's where my statement was flawed. I am just a mom, but at the same time, I'm his mom. And his story is what I am here for. And to make sure that that story continues in the most wonderful, well-flourished way possible. That's why I'm here. And that's why it matters. And I began to understand what it means to really own that space and how I mattered in that room at that very moment, on that very day as well, too. So when it comes to the anxieties of coming into the space, I think about actually a lot of times the things that I used to do just before I would go into the NICU area. I would go and, for instance, buy myself a smoothie. And I would sit at the table in the cafeteria, and I didn't have any distractions with me, no books, no phones, nothing. I just focused on that drink. And I'd take a sip, close my eyes, I would focus on the flavor, I would take a deep breath and just really think about being in this moment. I would listen to all the ambient noise of people walking back and forth in the hospital. And I remember thinking, this was me centering myself and helping find some grounding in the day. Understanding that I don't know what was waiting for me as soon as I went into the pod area with my son. I had nothing in my control other than feeling like I could focus in the moment and be present. And a lot of those nuances will benefit you greatly as well, too, in research spaces. And so whether it's at a conference or on a Zoom call, and you're feeling like you don't know exactly what to do and how to conduct yourself in that space, find some tools to help you center yourself in ways that help you feel confident And that could be a variety of different things that may benefit you greatly. And so, with that in mind, just a few little last bits of advice. You don't need a degree to be in this room. You have life experience, and that is what matters in this moment. And speaking of that, your story matters. It's going to take some time to sometimes feel confident, like you have something else to deliver there, but you are so much more than even just being a parent. You might be an accountant, a barista, whatever the case may be. There are skills that you have as a person in that space that will benefit the work that you're about to do. And be confident in that. Be confident in who you are, and learn about how that confidence will evolve over time. Definitely consider finding someone in this space as well too who you might be able to connect with and talk about, or find some support system in your family or friends, someone that can help you process this experience alongside you. And another thing as well too is to understand, and this is something I hear from parents all the time, is it's okay to speak up. If suddenly someone is rattling off a string of acronyms and you are just lost in the middle of the conversation and feeling like it is not even English anymore, definitely find an opportunity to say something and to stop the conversation if you can. Even if it's just a little bit later, if it feels like the momentum isn't there or you just don't have an opening. Because people need to know that if you are a colleague at the table, they're not letting you follow along at the same pace as they are going. And sometimes that happens. We're all human. Mistakes happen and things like that. But when you can offer them that opportunity, invite them to help fill you in, and offer that information in plain language, that helps you be confident, and that helps them better understand how to partner with you and other people in the future. And so today, I just wish you the best of luck as you move forward in your partnership.